Thank you, Virgil. Good morning. It's good to see everyone out this morning. I'm here this morning to initiate my campaign to be your delegate for the 9th District, the Commonwealth of Virginia. I would like to make a special thanks to Virgil for taking time out of his strong schedule. He works, as we all know, 24/7. I'm honored that he'd take the time to be here and speak for me. And my good friend Charles Hawkins, well, what do you say about Charles? He has been the true Virginia senator that goes back throughout our ages for representing the whole state, representing the whole people, being very fair, and providing a strong level of leadership. And Robert Hurd. I've watched Robert's legislative work for the last several years, and especially the bills he submitted, the contents of those, and what they did for our region and our people. And my good friend Alan Dudley. I can't say too much for how he has worked through the legislative process and with his peers in a very careful and measured way to pass the laws and the ordinances and represent us all here in the 9th District of Floyd and Pennsylvania and Franklin counties. I can't do this campaign, and I won't win this election without your support, and especially of my family. My wife Janet is over here in the red blouse today, my daughter Sherry, a couple of grandchildren, and Bill are here today. I'm delighted my sister is here as well to provide me family support. I appreciate, George, you being out to represent the district and Franklin County parties. Gene Bishop from up in Floyd had to work today, got called in this morning. And Tom Arthur, where are you, Tom? You're here representing Pennsylvania, and I appreciate your being here with us this morning. When I hear the Star Spangled Banner, my heart sort of speeds up. But when I hear Esther Huff sing it, I get goosebumps all the way down my back. Thank you, Esther. Wonderful job. Let me begin this morning my remarks with my philosophy on representative government and how I believe governance should be conducted by elected officials in an office such as this. First, there's a value system. There's a logo up here on this and on this banner and on the signs you see here this morning. But what I'm standing up for, I'm standing up for conservative values. That word could be just as well standing up for rural values. It could be just as well standing up for Virginia values. But what are these values I'm talking about this morning? I'm talking about the belief in and the support of family and marriage. And somewhere back of this parking lot is my car. My car is still with that yellow bumper sticker from last election supporting the pro-amendment marriage amendment. I believe in family, community. I believe in the community very strong, being a part, supporting your community. I believe we all should be supporting of our church of choice if we choose to recognize religion. The concept of self-respect, the concept of respect for others, respect of others' properties. And yes, I believe in personal responsibility, that we all have to stand up and be accountable for ourselves. I believe then too that we need to support those that are in need, those that are less fortunate. I believe we need to live in a community that's free of drugs and crime and gangs. I believe in my commonwealth with an emphasis on the C for common and W for wealth. I believe in my country and in my military. One of our boys is overseas right now. And finally, I believe in the right to bear and carry firearms. Second, there are core principles that I believe are really critical to a position like this. It's the foundation of our country, the foundation of our commonwealth, each individual in our local government. Some of these principles are fair and equal rights and opportunity. Another is as many individual freedoms as possible. The third is opportunity created by free markets, as Senator Hawkins was discussing. Free markets provides the economic base for each of us to support our families and grow our own personal wealth, provides the economic base for our quality of life, resources for our government then to provide services for our people and for the environment for open, free opportunity. And finally, there's one principle that I want to elaborate a bit on, and that's what I call the rule of law. In my belief system, I believe that when courts make decisions, legislators enact legislation, the governors or presidents make executive orders, then they ought to be based on our history and our traditions and our culture and our shared values. Legislation should not be made by activists judged from a bench. It should be made by legislators representing you. Legislation neither should be made in passion or with this week's polls. Rather, as our friend Alan Budley has done so well through the years, it should be made in a very measured, responsible, methodical method in which we don't forget about those unintended consequences. It's real easy to say, I need a law to do this and I need a law to do that, but you really worry about what's the effect of that law. Now, what does all this mean to me as a candidate and as your next delegate? I will represent all the citizens in Franklin, Floyd, and Pittsylvania County equally and fairly. I will listen to them all, I'll serve, and I will help them all. It doesn't matter in a district, doesn't matter in a county. When the Board of Supervisors, my decisions will be made 99% of the time for the whole county. It will be the same way as a delegate. Now, how do you go about this? Folks, it's simple hard work, and this is my process, this is the way I've operated, and this is the way I will operate as your delegate. I like to hear from you and the citizens, any stakeholders. I consult experts from academia, government, wherever. I talk to my peers. I look for those downfalls of what's coming, the negative consequences. And then we go through the subcommittees and the committees and the public hearings, and I love the debate where everyone lays it on the table. And then in the final sense, you have to lay judgment, informed common sense when you go to make a decision. I've served as an elected official. I've followed this process. I'll follow this process, these core principles and these values as your next delegate. I believe in listening too. There's an old country expression, you don't learn by talking. My daddy used to tell me that when I was a young man. I've already been out in Floyd and Pennsylvania counties and several places, and of course in Franklin County, and I've heard of a few concerns, and I want to elaborate just a little bit just for a moment on those. First, I want to talk about economic development. We all know where this region was when Charles Hawkins, Robert Hurt, Alan Dudley, and others stood up, Congressman Good and others that stood up to try to turn this area around. We all remember Ross Perot saying there's going to be a big slurping sound heading south when NAFTA was signed by a certain president and supported by a certain party. That's true. It did happen. It just accelerated it though. If we look back in history, these changes come to us. And sometimes each generation has to step up to that challenge. And that's our time and my time now. At that time, we were in a very difficult situation in economics. So what happened? These gentlemen and others, they immediately started to build us a new infrastructure. That infrastructure was broadband. That infrastructure was workforce development. And we can't see it over this building here, but there's a new, well, we can. There's a new $4 million building going up right up this street for workforce development to train new workers, GEDs for people that don't have high school education, Patrick Henry Community College, Virginia Western Community College, and others. And yes, they poured wads of money into our educational system, as did your local government, so that we could be competitive, and we do.